wait, now the CC has gone back to being shit again.
Implying that the CC wasn't shit before. That said, can't that literally be said of any community? Drama happens everywhere and in virtually every community, so that can apply to them too. Doesn't defeat the point, granted, but it's also not exclusive to the commentary community.
Hey Morgan.
Oh, it's you.
Literally same.
Is there anything wrong?
You don't get it. Shit happened days ago with us.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, this is the closest you're gonna get to an explanation on what apparently had the entire CC go to shit. This drama sounds like it's between two people out of a community, one of them being Morgan, the other likely being Death Critic. By the way, that's this person. You probably wouldn't know that at this point if you didn't know who he was beforehand, because introductions are overrated. Her use of the word us does have the implications that it's not necessarily between Morgan and Death, but then it begs the question, who was involved in this drama? Or better yet, what was the fucking drama? Regardless of what the drama was, if it was between Morgan and Death, then the fact that he's here with no ill bearing towards Morgan from the sounds of it, coupled with the fact that you outright said it was days ago, means that you still crying about it is pretty weak and petty at best. If this drama was based off of something that happened to you in real life, and that you don't want to bring it up in the video, fine, I get that. But then recommend making up a drama. Real or not, at least it would give your situation some well-needed context, and maybe it would even explain why you're still crying.
And the end result made me goddamn upset that I should think about committing suicide.
And we're going there! Apparently this drama was so bad, despite the other person not showing signs that this drama actually fucking mattered in the first place, that Morgan wanted to commit suicide. This is a joke, right? Right? Right?
Whoa, Morgan. Morgan, don't, no, wait, I just want to say this.
You know what? It's the best if I don't exist anymore. I'm sure people want to care about me if I do it.
You're not actually going to do this outside of a joke, right? Holy shit. I think I need a moment. Morgan, did you really just have the gunshot sound effect be quieter than the gun cocking sound effect? Could you not look at the tracks in your video editor, look at the sound and think, oh geez, the gunshot sounds awfully quiet over here, maybe I could raise the volume just a bit or something? Like, what am I supposed to do about this? Oh yeah, the rest of the suicide subplot.
Oh shit, I just want to apologize for that. Now what am I gonna do? Oh wait, that gives me an idea.
Yes, seeing your friend fucking shoot herself just gave you an idea. You know, with how abrupt the change in mood was, it might be more dead than me. Or Morgan, take your pick. Okay, if you couldn't tell, this part of the cold opening was terribly executed. Morgan, no offense, but your acting is flatter than paper, and Death can't properly emote to save the animal he's wearing. Whether this was meant to be played up more seriously or as a joke, both of your attempts at acting brought this down to where it fails on both ends. Furthermore, the actual shooting. Audio issues aside, you know what could have added to this entire scenario? A picture of Death's avatar in shock in response to you shooting yourself. That would have added wonders, as it gives the audience visual feedback of Death's supposed reaction based on the character he's representing himself with. Hell, doing so could arguably give a reason as to why the gunshot wasn't as loud as the gun cocking, since it implied that the focus is more on Death than towards you killing yourself. There's also the matter of his lines right after. The attempted change from OMG and shot guys to wait a second wasn't well timed, thus hurting the whole situation. I would have said killed if Death's lack of attending an acting class didn't do that first. I'm not gonna go around and say that I'm against dark themes and commentaries. Trust me, I tried to simulate hanging once, I just recently tried committing genocide, I'm currently dead, and I told some Jew pony to fuck off when someone else shot themselves for a joke in another video. I think suicide jokes are fine, at least when they're not done poorly. That said, with both how unnatural you sounded in this sort of scenario, and how poorly timed this was, it wasn't entertaining. It was just uncomfortable, and for all the wrong reasons.
So, Death.
Keep your filthy hands off my wife!
Nathan, how did you even get it? You know what, it doesn't matter, get the fuck out. Are people even gonna get this reference?
What is it that you wanted to call me and George for? Oh. What happened to Morgan?
Well, she felt upset and said anything about committing suicide because of it, and then she shot herself to death.
Contrast this with shooting herself back to life.
I was wondering if you two could be able to revive her.
Well, we do have the machine for that.
Oh, there's a fucking machine for that? That could have helped me last commentary, but no, we had to kill Caden for that. that guy would have done that anyways.
George, flip the switch!
This again?
Hey look, it's that guy who drew this piece of art for me. Listen, George, whatever Morgan or Death paid you to do this, I'll pay double to get you out. MTR, I'll throw in a cheeseburger. What was that noise? Like, did you record me yawning and use that for a commentary? No, seriously. Like, do my yawns just bring people back to life or something? No way, I can't be alive for this! There we go.
What the hell just happened?
Well, Death told us he committed suicide over something you're upset about. You're feeling okay?
He just committed suicide! What do you think? I'm fine. Not really. I just shot myself to death, that's all. Please tell me you didn't write this line down. I beg of you.
Maybe a little. Wait, why did I change for Kurumi to Cyan?
Well, for one, we fixed you and gave you the same watch we gave to Ernie a while ago. And two, you really haven't used her for like, what, since October?
Ah, frick, I really need to use her sometime.
Ignoring that you're using her right now, then why didn't you? Also, October? Please, I haven't used Maleficent prior to this commentary since February of last year, and she's been my channel icon for like ever. Get on my level.
But enough of this. Can't you just let me die already?
Nice transition. Oh, I should really use this character, but first let me fucking die.
Get out of it, ma'am! I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for what I did to you and making you upset like that. I know we've been close friends throughout years, but this is something we shouldn't let ourselves get into. Besides, drama always happens, but at times like that, we shouldn't let ourselves get involved in situations like this.
I know this was probably meant in some way to rebuild Morgan's confidence or something, but I like how Death is practically telling Morgan off about drama. It's almost like what she said at the beginning was completely silly.
But there's nothing I can do about it.
Look, ma'am, I get shit like this at times, but you don't see me having suicidal thoughts over it.
Is the video I'm doing a commentary on doing the commentary for me now? Excuse me, George, that's my job. Get your own. This is why I only have $7.
You shouldn't let those things get to you. I mean, you have many friends and people who support you throughout those days, including me, MTR, and Death. Do you really want to let them down like this?
You know what? You guys are right. Now I feel much better thanks to you three.
Okay, this goes back to how uncomfortable the whole suicide skit was from earlier, but what makes me uneasy about this is that, keeping in mind the context that Morgan recently shot herself, now she's pretty okay with herself and isn't suicidal anymore. Maybe this is just me, but coming from someone who's had suicidal friends in the past, I get that talking things out with people can really help. I get that. But at the same time, it doesn't always fix the problem in a snap. Sometimes it can take hours, days, weeks, so on, and might even require professional help. Here we have 3 people, likely none of whom being professionals and one lacking the English skills to be one, talking her out of it like completely within the span of about 2 minutes. I wouldn't mind this as much if either Morgan didn't go through with committing suicide or if Morgan, while feeling better, didn't claim to be alright. Given the severity of her depressed state and how quick and strong the rebound was, it comes off as unrealistic from an emotional standpoint. I'd argue logical as well, but this is a plot about bringing someone back to life, so maybe this was some therapeutic thing that Morgan herself needed and she wanted to convey this feeling in a video. But there has to be a better way than actively killing yourself in your commentary, at least in the way that you did. Off the top of my head, I could think of Youngblood Fantasy 91, and the intro to a recent commentary of his on the example of how to do the whole motivating the commentator thing better, while comparing the commentary of a commentator who is often highly praised to a commentator who's not, might be a bit of a stretch. It's still rather poor on your end when there's evidence out there that intros meant as encouragement to the commentator exist and don't destroy the mood of the video or the English language.
Well, thank Death for that.
Might have to say this again. If you need us, just contact us.
Hey, wait! How am I supposed to know how this watch works?
Oh yeah, that watch thing that was brought up like a minute ago in your commentary. I'm sorry, but between you killing yourself and then you suddenly getting better, I was kind of distracted. Now then!
Oh, wait, it's already explained in Ernie's recent commentary.
I'm aware that you initially didn't have a link to Ernie's commentary, where this whole watch thing came from, so I could have gone on this tangent about how troublesome this could have been for people who didn't know that Ernie was Illini Guy 34, or which video of Illini Guys this came from, but there is a link in the description now. So instead, let me ask something else. Why didn't you briefly describe it in the first place? You could have made reference to Ernie's video or something while describing it, but it's bad writing to introduce a MacGuffin and never explain what it does. Especially when in the context of when your commentary first came out, the place where this explanation came from wasn't readily available to the audience.
Oh, speaking of that, looks like you're not the only one who has a
I can never fap to this show again.
Can you please leave? I have a new full commentary I'm about to work on.
Alright, fine, if that's what you want.
So let me get this straight. This entire thing about whatever drama you and Death had, you shooting yourself, MTR and George bringing you back to life, Death and George attempted to give you motivational speeches, all this in your intro, and what you accomplished in setting up was that you changed your avatar. Something you could have done without any of this unnecessary shit. Okay, in fairness with the watch, that's something that could always come up as a plot point in a future commentary or something. Maybe. But if it never comes up again, guess what? You did nothing of substance for over 3.5 minutes except greet us with one of the most unintentionally unsettling commentary code openings I've ever seen. It's not the length that I'm upset at. It's what you did with that length.
Now, before anyone calls me out for commentating on a kid, I know I regret doing it with my shitty commentary on Kendo Walker, but with this, if people like Zero Star, Ryan, Silver, and Dua can commentate on Skeleton Nation, then why can't I?
Remember people, just because the cool kids do it, doesn't make it cool if you do it yourself. Have your parents ever taught you anything about peer pressure? If not, your childhood sucked.
Also, for the looks of this video, does it remind me of someone? You will see who it is later on.
Or maybe you just read the title to figure out who you're talking about. Wait a second. Who are you talking about? Who's Foxtrot? What's Foxtrot? Are you talking about radio communication? Well, guess what? Foxtrot, Uniform, Charlie, Kilo, Yankee, Oscar, Uniform, Yankee, Oscar, Uniform, Hotel, Echo, Charlie, Kilo. Now for those who don't know, which will likely be most of whoever watches this video, when Morgan used Foxtrot in her title, she was referring to a former commentator named Foxtrot Delta Lima 497. A commentator from 2011! Holy shit, that was half a decade ago! Who made pretty bad commentaries. Admittedly, he was known back in the day partially as a plagiarist, like you'll accuse Joey from down the street of being later, but he was also infamous for constantly tackling easy topics and older and downright irrelevant videos and people. The issue here, ignoring that you once again failed to link a person's channel so that newcomers would know who the fuck you're talking about, is that Foxtrot himself, ironically, is a dead topic. In fact, prior to your title, I hadn't heard of him in years and completely forgot about him and his content. And I'm someone who debuted as a commentator in 2012. I wouldn't even mind as much if you had all brought up the comparison during your commentary, but you don't. Morgan, you're the one who tried referencing an old commentator in your title, yet I'm the one who has to explain the fucking reference. This is not how you do your job! Now, it could be debated that the person who Morgan is actually referring to with this comment is MDXLR, who did a commentary on the same video that Papyrus Country commentated on in an earlier degree. And unlike with Foxtrot, Morgan tries to make a comparison later in her video between one of Wayne Grayson's points and one of Anna Levine's points. But that still makes the title of your video a guessing game for your audience. You have a fucking watch, do what you're supposed to do with one, and keep up with the times.
Here's the degrees, onto the commentary.
Well, I need something.
Oh, looky here! A sword just randomly appeared near Joey's face. Does he have telekinesis or something?
Well, then I wonder what powers you have, Miss I managed to shoot myself without ever showing a gun on screen.
When I talk about the generation this movie's in, I will be talking about the star of the film. For example, I will label Destiny Deoxys the Gen 3 movie, even though it has Munchlax in it, and I will label Mystery of Mew the Gen 4 movie, even though it has the Gen 3 cast. Why? Easy. Because the anime is not canon for the most part with these movies.
How does the fact that most of the movies are not canon affect the generation that these movies are in? Plus, it's generally accepted that a movie's generation is based off of where Ash is traveling at the moment and who is accompanying Ash in his travels. However, I can see where you're coming from, so you could consider this a nitpick. The rest of this, not so much. Also, switching avatars, here, something more fitting considering the topic. What's that? Not ironic enough? Too bad, don't care.
Holy crap, we're starting this off horribly. To put it simply, this movie sucks so much shadow balls that all this movie does is spit up shit. This movie has so many problems with it, I don't know where to start. How about the villain? Well, after some feedback on the top 5 Pokemon generations, I have taken back my claim on Kodai being a ripoff of Lelouch, as I no longer feel that way about Kodai. Truth is, when I first saw the movie, I was just making jokes about Kodai being a Lelouch wannabe, but I never meant that, and I do apologize for it. However, and this is a big however, there are still a lot of bones I have to pick with Kodai. Just because he's not a ripoff of Lelouch doesn't mean he doesn't suck. That's this movie's second biggest problem. The villain sucks. Kodai's main goal in the film was to collect the energy Celebi used to time travel again, as his psychic powers were expiring. I wouldn't mention this as Kodai's goals, as he wants to expand his business with his future sight abilities. Except 2 things. 1. How does touching a time portal cause the destruction of nature around it? I understand Celebi has the power of restoring plants and traveling through time. However, that just means Celebi can revive dead stuff. Unless you're telling me that everything, and I do mean everything, dies from Celebi's portal, then that is retarded and that makes no sense.
The Time Ripple is said to collect energy for Celebi, a time traveler who restores plant life, to use. When Kodai tampered with the Time Ripple, he reversed the flow of time. Essentially, Celebi's powers. The rest really just requires basic math. Now, can you do basic math?
And 2, if this is because of time, aren't they forgetting a certain legendary of time? You know, a Pokemon that could save this area?
Why should a deity that can manipulate time have to deal with the events involving a guy who can see into the future and a time-traveling forest sprite? It's not like Kodai actively sought out Dialga or posed a threat to its existence. So why would Dialga need to care? Plus, the events of the movie resolved without Dialga, further contributing to the idea that it's still not needed. Coming from someone who would list Dialga as one of their favorite Pokemon of all time, as opposed to you, who put it smack dab at the bottom of his top 49 legendary Pokemon list, Dialga would have just been unnecessary.
The characters are also one-dimensional, like their anime counterparts. Not one character goes through any development, at least not the newer ones, and they have no reason to be there. Speaking of new characters, they are just bland or okay. I didn't like Rowena because she's a generic turn against the villain character, and her hairstyle just screams Leia wannabe.
Over-exaggerated pigtails in anime? What sorcery is this?
Zorua was a decent character, as at least he had a goal.
Couldn't you argue that every named character in this movie had a goal?
Let's talk about Mima, the somewhat main character of this film. I honestly find Zoroark to be one of this film's saving graces. One of the only, mind you. She's powerful, she wants to see her son, which unlike others is a goal, and she actually sacrifices herself to save her son.
Yeah, that whole one-dimensional character thing you mentioned earlier. Yeah, you're sort of wrecking it up yourself.
Using actual Pokemon logic here, disregarding Zoroark's electrocution earlier in the film, as well as damage inflicted, let me ask you this. What is Shadow Ball? A ghost move. Well, I can imagine that ghost types must be super effective on Zoroark. Are you kidding? Ghost is resistant of Zoroark. There is no way Zoroark could have died.
Pokemon Battling 101. If a move can deal 1 hit point against a Pokemon, then that move can KO that Pokemon. Sure, Zoroark resists Shadow Ball, but it is not immune to it. And besides, it's not like it went from 100% to 0 health. Did you not see the hell Zoroark went through? But do you know what completely kills your argument, Wave? The fact that it wasn't even Shadow Ball that did Zoroark in. The best part is, you showed us what killed Zoroark. It's lethal, powerful, and just so we're clear, not resisted by dark.
And that's just how I feel overall about this film. It pisses me off. The story was stupid, and it overall was a mess of a film. I don't want to talk about this movie ever again.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Oh, and did I forget to mention that this movie was supposed to have a dark Ash in it? Why wasn't it in the movie?
Trailers for the third movie had Mewtwo in them. Trailers for the seventh movie had Ash riding a Rayquaza. Trailers for the 10th movie involved Ash and a Pidgeot, possibly his Pidgeot. The point is, they always have trailers for the Pokemon movies with scenes that don't make it into the final cut. The Zoroark movie is nothing special in this regard. And if you really want to be technical, we had a Dark Ash in one of the episodes of Pokemon, and we did have Zora transforming into Ash for a minute. So it's not like we didn't have a copy of Ash in the movie.
Come out, Virginia, don't let it wait. You Catholic girls start much too late.
This doesn't get better for a bit, so please bear with me.
One world, now and forever, best friends, loyal and true. You and me and Pokemon.
To be fair, this movie doesn't piss me off in the same way the previously mentioned movie did.
Well,
But
that
it still
took
sucks.
all of 40
Pokemon
seconds.
Heroes takes the gang to Italy, aka Alto Mare, where they discover a plot by the villains to take the Soldu from Alto Mare and take over the world. Big surprise. The plot itself doesn't piss me off. It's some of the execution, though. Like, why capture Latios when you had a better chance with Latios? And before you say, convenience! Why didn't they go for Latios after capturing them?
Did we forget about the part where Latios jumped in front of Latias to prevent Latias from being captured from Annie and Oakley? Or how about the fact that the DMA that think Annie and Oakley were trying to activate in the first place only required one of the Eon twins and the Soldu to activate?
I mean, hell, even when Latios is right there in the Soul Room. they don't
What was
capture them
that?
for more power.
The villains were
Seems to me they were
incapacitated
trying to
and
make
unable
Latios
to capture
useful as
Latias at that
compensation for
moment?
not being in much of the movie.
Context? What the
Also,
fuck is that?
What is up with the romance between Ash and Latias? I don't mean friendship, I mean... that.
So Latias had a crush on Ash. So what? It wasn't like it was a sexual lust for Ash. No, it was as innocent of a crush as one could get. And that kiss at the end? It's quite possible that kiss was just a goodbye kiss, as when that kiss happened, Ash was just about to leave Alto Mare. This is, of course, assuming that Latias kissed him at the end, and not the girl that Latias disguised herself as.
How does Safeguard destroy the control panel when that makes 0 sense? I also don't like some of the characters. Oh sure, the animation is good, but the characters aren't that great. Though to be fair, they have more personality than that other movie mentioned before.
Just so we're clear, we're still never talking about that movie again, right?
Misty, Brock, and the villains aren't too special. Though the Aeon duo is a nice touch. As for the music, I kinda liked it. Though a lot of the music from the dub is used, mainly the opening. But in terms of later entries on this list, it's just decent. And the voice acting is just okay. Not too special, but yeah. Oh, and I mentioned it here and not in the last entry. Because I don't want
Okay, I thought we were done talking about the Zoroark movie. Why are you still referencing it?
To remove the
Fucking
elephant
liar.
in the room and to deal with this entry as best I can, I will talk about the 4Kids dub version. Whatever. This dub cut out a lot of important scenes like the history of Alto Mare, which was removed in the dub, and replaced with some half-assed evil trainer bullshit. What the? Stupid copyright.
But you uploaded this to Blib, which wouldn't have the copyright issue, and you were talking about the plot, so it's not like there would be any copyright issue about that. And why was Hades dead? I think my brain just died.
Also, why the Tartarus do most DVD copies have that blue tint on them? What, did the Navis invade this town or something?
Water absorbs every color of the color spectrum except for blue, which means it reflects blue onto other objects, with some objects being more absorbent of the color than others. Obnoxious as it may be, there's actually logic behind it, something your points seem to lack.
Why replace Latios' voice for Latias' voice? He's a male Pokemon for Caden's sake, so you're telling me that he got a sex change or something? Because that makes no sense considering, legendaries.
Latios and Latias are very similar Pokemon, so for them to have very similar sounding noises really shouldn't come as a surprise. Plus, the movie makes it clear when one is speaking and one is not, and Latios' speak is one octave lower than Latias's. Besides, should it really matter anyways? It's not like they're actually speaking with words, they're speaking through their noises, whatever. The rest of this is just his final thoughts on the movie, so I think I can skip to number 13.
All the sooner or later it comes down to fate. I might as well be the one.
Why is it that some of the 4th gen movies had to piss me off?
Because you take relatively harmless, kid-friendly anime movies a little bit too seriously for your own good.
To prevent repetition, I will make this quick. This movie sucked, I didn't like this and that. The end.
I wish.
Okay, now that that's out of the way. The problem with the film is that the villain was just complete shit. Like they're not even trying with these villain designs anymore. His goal is to take over the distortion world. Hey, original!
Okay, I get that you're trying to work on your abridged Tristan Taylor voice. I mean, you gotta have some variety in your Pokemon sprite thing. But originality's not everything, I'm not gonna say that originality's not a good thing when it's done right, or that it's a bad thing when it's done wrong. The problem is, you don't say if it's done right or wrong, you just say it's unoriginal.
I think one of this film's weakest points are the legendaries themselves. Giratina doesn't do anything but linger around.
Even though the film tells us that this is more or less a result of Dialga interfering with its ability to cross dimensions. So when it actually does something more than linger, it actually makes the scene more tense and exciting.
Regigigas doesn't appear until the last few minutes of the film, which really pisses me off, because he comes right out of nowhere.
So the iceberg crashing down in front of the temple where Regigigas was sleeping due to the actions of the villain means it came out of nowhere. Granted, it seems more like coincidence than anything, but I won't say it's out of nowhere.
But then there's Shaman, which is one of the reasons I hated this film. Shaman is so goddamn annoying. It never shuts up, it annoys the protagonist, and it is so goddamn weak.
While I can actually see Shaman being annoying to you, 2 things. 1, the only protagonist that was constantly annoyed by Shaman's antics was Ash. Everyone else seemed to be just fine with it. And number 2, Shaman wasn't weak as much as it was timid and afraid to fight, at least while in land form. And if you still want to continue to think that way, let me bring this up. Shaman's main opponents throughout the movie were generally bulky Pokemon who resisted grass. If anything, Shaman's only weak by comparison.
So what other problems does Captain Planet's Chia-Pet have, you may ask?
Because
Well, that's roughly it. Shaman's an annoying character that has no redeemable personality. But there is one good thing that came out of this. Banyo beat in box office records.
Totally relevant to the topic, right guys?
You want to know the villain's name? It's Zero. You know what? Screw it, I quit. Let's just move on.
I'm sorry, but wouldn't it have been more fitting to talk about Zero's name back when we were, talking about Zero? There are many reviews of the Pokemon movies would still suck, but at least I wouldn't have to complain about a lack of organization. I'm just going to go ahead and skip number 12, because he brings up nothing negative about it. This wouldn't be an issue if not for the fact that A, he just spent the past 3 entries criticizing each of the films, B, he thought each of the entries from number 11 to number 1 were perfect or near perfect to justify it being in number 12, or C, he criticized the movie. Just for the record, this is what he liked from that movie. Okay, you're caught up. Now we're skipping to number 11.
be frank with you all. The first Pokemon movie is one of the most bland, unappealing, and in a way, overrated films, in my opinion. It's enough to make the top 11, but that's it. And yes, I understand that I liked the third movie because it had Dan Green in it.
Are we completely forgetting about these?
Frankly, I didn't like it as much. I liked the first movie because of nostalgia.
So a movie that you described as bland, unappealing, and overrated is above a film that you thought was pretty good because of nostalgia? I'm sorry, but that doesn't work. If a movie has to be from your childhood in order for you to enjoy it still, then it's really not that great of a movie to begin with. I can understand you not hating the film due to nostalgia, but you should be able to judge the movie not based on when you experienced it, but on its own merits.
I understand this film has morals. Senseless fighting inspires more fighting. But the problem is that the moral is completely rendered pointless in a world involving Pokemon fighting. That's why I haven't talked about the morals in this list yet, or on this list, whatever. This is one of the only few Pokemon movies to have a moral in it, and it's not that good due to the world around this moral.
Not really, since Pokemon fighting in that world is much akin to wrestling and boxing in our world. It's just sport. Now, if you really want something that fucks over the moral, it's the fact that Mewtwo erases everyone's mind at the end of the film. I mean, what good is a moral if we're not allowed to remember it? Also, the fuck are you going about saying the other films didn't have morals? I could find them. You have the power to make dreams a reality. Good cannot exist without evil. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And my personal favorite, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
I also didn't care that much for the characters in this film, except Ash and his gang and Mewtwo. The rest of the characters are bland, unfunny, and worthless to the plot for the most part. And Mew is one of the worst examples of this. Mew doesn't do anything to the overall story other than making Mewtwo and fighting him during the climax of the movie. I'm sure he must have done something in the manga version of this or in the Japanese version, but I'm covering the dub version in this. Now, Mew's just worthless.
Now, I want to focus on this sentence for a minute. You leave these comments all throughout your video, and when I see comments like this, all I can think of is just this giant neon sign saying, "Look at me, look at how different my opinion is." You can have your opinions, but there's being nonconformist, and then there's being pretentious.
Let's move on to the positive aspects, if I can find those. The animation is nice, with the towns, the environments, and the Pokemon look nice with their anime counterparts, like when comparing them to the anime, I mean. The music is somewhat memorable, and the fighting was pretty cool, though. I didn't like the final battle, though, between the clones, as I felt it dragged on for a little long, including Mew and Mewtwo. And I also can't help but complain about several story aspects removed from the film, such as the flashback of Mewtwo, where it's established why he wants to destroy humanity. But that's irrelevant since we got his backstory years later.
Hey, remember when 4Kids cut out that opening from Pokemon Heroes? Well, we technically got it later, so that should be irrelevant. Oh wait, you didn't discount that. And yet you're not discounting this. What the fuck, Wave? Yeah, I'm gonna skip the rest of this segment. Literally, the one positive aspect that I'm going to skip is him describing Mewtwo. And even then, he only talks about the design, which the movie is not to really be praised for since it was created before the movie, and the voice, which is pretty much the same thing you praised Entei of for Spell of the Unknown. Ultimately, I'm not convinced that the first movie is better than Spell of the Unknown. Then again, when you spend over half the segment being negative, and the one positive that sticks out is the music, when compared to the previous segment, which also had the villain and the plot, you're not really convincing anyone.
In all seriousness, though, Destiny Deoxys was a pretty good movie to watch. In a generation that was meh. I like some of the characters of the film, such as Tori, as they play a main part in this film.
So in short, I like this character because he's plot relevant.
As for the story, I find it to be decent. Well, it has Rayquaza in it, who I don't like that much. It does have Deoxys in it, and that's what puts it above the third movie. Unlike Mystery of the Unknown, I love Deoxys!
Now by that, do you mean Rayquaza as it was portrayed in the movie or Rayquaza in general? If the former, a little more specification wouldn't hurt. If it was the latter, you made a top 49 legendary Pokemon list, and you put Rayquaza at number 20. I'm drawing two conclusions from this. A, your opinion has drastically changed since, or B, you have a really low opinion of the other 29 Pokemon below Rayquaza. Apart from poor jokes, I can't find anything else left to talk about in this section. We're skipping to number 9.
Sometimes it's hard to know which way you're supposed to go.
What can I honestly say about this movie? It's better than the Giratina movie, and miles better than the Zoroark movie, but it's not that memorable. Believe me, there's a few more Senna movies I have on this list that are better. The movie involves the Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina from the previous movies fighting Arceus, as Ash and the others are sent back in time to give the Jewel of Life back to Arceus, as it contains 3 of Arceus' plates that he used to build Damon's village so that it doesn't die.
Even though you show more than 3 being used to create the Jewel of Life, are you even reviewing the footage you're using for this segment?
It's not too bad, but there are a few plot holes in the event of time travel. For example, how does Ash stopping the events in the past not change the events of the future? The only thing that really changed was Arceus knowing who Ash is. Or, how does hypnosis control someone when it's supposed to put them to sleep? That's Psychic's job. Congrats, movie. The plot hole is so big you can see China on the other side.
Well, when Bronzong used hypnosis, their pupils disappeared, so it can be assumed that they were put under a trance. Now, for the sake of argument, let's pretend that he was using psychic instead of hypnosis. Guess what a psychic type with access to TMs can learn? Yeah, plot hole my ass.
The characters are decent. I really do like Damon and the others as well, though characters like Arceus are just annoying to listen to. And characters like Marcus are just bland villains. Like, they're so bland, I'm surprised he wasn't in Gen 1.
Marcus, believe it or not, wanted the land to grow and thought if Arceus took back the Jewel of Life, that the land would die and revert to what it once was. Yeah, he's pretty obvious, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's bland. Or at least not as bland as you're making him out to be.
So yeah, the characters in this are just okay, or decent, or not okay.
Sounds like you are having a little bit of a problem there. Was that you fumbling over your own script, or you being indecisive? In either case, re-recording later is never an option that you should discount.
As for the music, it's pretty decent, but I can't remember any famous tracks from the film, minus the dub themes.
Because we always have to try too hard to make it sound like 4Kids is the devil. Wait. 4Kids didn't dub this. So why are we making all of these comments saying how 4Kids is evil when the other dub is just as detestable?
I don't have anything to frankly say about this movie. When it comes to the remaining Senna movies, I can just find more reasons to like them over this one. I'm sorry, I just don't like this movie enough to make it any higher. There are a few more Senna movies less so.
Still going by the rule that most people follow, there's technically only one left, The Rise of Darkrai, which is ironically number 8 on this list. Also, remember how I complained about how he said nothing negative about the Entei movie? Yeah, similar story here, skipping to number 7.
What to say about this movie? Being the movie that introduced me to Gen 2, of course this would have had some nostalgic memories with me. The storyline was pretty interesting, having legendaries nearly destroy the world, and I also like the setting of a tropical resort for something as violent as Pokemon. Kinda ironic, actually. And yes, Lawrence III has a stupid goal of just collecting the legendary burrs to add to his collection, but at least it's better than taking over the world like every other bland villain in these movies.
You called Marcus bland earlier. He didn't try and take over the world. But more to the point, is it really any better to have a stupid idea than a bland idea? If anything, being stupid is worse than being bland. If you're bland, it just means you're not going to be very popular, because you have no standout feature. If you're stupid, you're going to have a standout feature that makes you popular, but for all the wrong reasons. And let's be honest here. Do you see more hate for something that's bland or something that's stupid? Spoilers, it's the latter.
As for the characters, they are hilarious.
Which is why when you say hilarious, you show a character without a funny bone in its body.
This movie has its issues, like the 4-kid stub, and the stupid dialogue they sometimes say, and the fact that Lapras can't learn fly.
Wave, there's no other way for me to tell you this. That was a terrible joke. To get the context of the joke, which would be the only reason why we would laugh in the first place, this guy said in his review of Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, "My Tappet can't learn fly," in a similar manner to that. However, Logan made it pretty clear that when he said that, that was something that didn't negatively affect Black 2 and White 2. With how you grouped it with the quote-unquote negative aspects of the film, you make it sound like Lapras not learning fly is a bad thing for the film. Oh, and the joke was forced anyway, so it's not like it was going to be funny in the first place.
The Victini movie is an interesting case for me, since I was given two choices. Ultimately, I chose the Zekrom movie, because Zekrom is better than Reshiram.
It's nice to see you try and do a Stitch impersonation, but why should we be jealous of an opinion? And it's not like you have a nonconformist opinion either. You like one really popular, really well-liked legendary over another. So what?
But all that really changes is the shiny of the film, the secondary legend, and a couple Pokemon. Aside from that, it's the same film.
Further proving why we shouldn't be jealous.
As I said in the top 5 Pokemon generations list, this movie fixed a lot of problems the Zoroark movie had. And now you get to hear what I feel they fixed on. First off, the villain isn't a generic piece of shit. Second of all, the characters have more development this time around as they interact with the town of Iondak, 5x I misspelled that, which is based off of France.
Call me late to this because I'm bringing it up only now, but whenever a particular location in any of the Pokemon movies is based off a place in real life, you're quick to point it out. Yet, when the Shaman movie is based off of Norway, and when the Zoroark movie is based off the Netherlands, you don't care to bring him up at all. Just because we poke at the fact that Kingdom Masters is Dutch all the time, doesn't mean you have to disregard the fact that one of the movies is based off where he lives.
As the story progresses, it turns out Damon's, the villain's, goal is to restore his old village of the Vale using the Sword of the Vale, as it was destroyed years ago due to two princes fighting each other with the Yin-Yang dragons. Speaking of which, Damon is more of a sympathetic villain than Kodai was. He didn't want to expand his empire or anything. He wanted to bring his people back to where they originally were, and it's only until the end of the film that he realizes that he doesn't need the sword to rebuild his people's land. Instead, his clan can help him. Damon's not a bad person. He just didn't know what to do at the time, and he thought that the Dragon Force, shut up obvious joke, would repair the land. He never intended this to happen. Hence why I like him over Kodai, as well as other reasons.
Isn't that kind of the point? Damon's supposed to be a more likable character, because unlike Kodai, Damon's intentions are good. What you're supposed to be arguing here is how Damon's a better character, which you aren't doing. How could one man state the obvious, yet completely missed the point.
Also, the animation is really nice as compared to movie 13, with the backgrounds and the CG being really well done for this movie, though I have to ask, what is wrong with Iris's hair? What, does that Striker merge with it or something? But the one trump card in this movie is Victini. Unlike Zoroark, which is kind of hard to get an emotion on.
Anger, pain, fear, tired. Zoroark is not just a one-face-fits-all type of Pokemon. Either through its body movements or its facial expressions, it clearly showed a lot of emotion during that movie. If somehow Zoroark's face still doesn't give you any emotions to read, then please learn to read body language.
Or Zoroark was annoying somewhat.
So wait,
Victini is
Zoroark
both
went from
hilarious
being
and fun to
decent
watch.
to being annoying.
She makes a promise with Ash to go to the
Why
street,
the sudden
and that
change?
happens.
I know you hate
But I
Zoroark,
think
but
what I love about Victini
you already
is
said that.
she is
No going back
While
now.
watching the film, whenever Victini did something funny, I was laughing my ass off. That never gets old. I also found the characters to be really interesting as well, especially Silent, unlike that other movie.
All you've been doing throughout this entire segment is going, this movie is better than the movie that came before, and here's why. I understand that you think the Victini movie is better, and I understand the sequels are supposed to improve upon the original, but the Victini movie is not really a direct sequel to the Zoroark film. If anything, the only sequels in this entire thing are the Shaman movie and the Arceus movie, being sequels to the Darkrai and Shaman films respectively. And I also wouldn't mind if you did it for any other film, like going, the Arceus movie is better than the Giratina movie, and here's why, or the Lugia movie is better than the Mewtwo movie, and here's why. We get it, you hate the Zoroark film, that's fine. However, the amount of double standards you have against it, it's just simply astounding. It's literally larger than that time you complain about Ruby and Sapphire's battery dying out and losing all time-based events, and not complaining about Gen 2's battery dying out and losing all of your saved data. Yeah, we're just gonna skip the rest of this and number 5. There's nothing really new to complain about.
That's right, folks. My favorite movie from Gen 2 is only number 4 on this list. After the disaster known as Top 5 Pokemon Generations, and after the reception, I thought about it. And while I still think this movie is good, it has a lot of problems to it, and if I were to redo the list, Gen 2 would be number 2 and Gen 4 would be number 1. But aside from that, I still like this movie, enough to be at the spot. I like the storyline of the film, and though it has plot holes, no movie is perfect. One of the reasons I like it is because it mainly involves Celebi, my second favorite legendary from Johto, and Suicune, my favorite legendary of Gen 2.
Just like...
And this movie is what made me love them. Yes, these movies make me like most of the legendaries. Funny how that works, doesn't it? Anyway, stating the obvious aside, another reason I like this story is because it's not afraid to have its dark moments in it. Like the villain partially winning at the climax and Celebi nearly dying.
Let's look at 15th, 14th, and 13th for a second, okay? Let's see here. Zero absorbs Giratina's energy and goes into the reverse world. Partial victory. Annie and Oakley capture Latios, grab the Soldu, and take control of the DMA. Partial victory. Kodai forcing everybody out of the city by having Zoroark use his illusionary powers to terrorize the townspeople by creating illusions of Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. Partial fucking victory. Though in reality, any of these partial victories are only means to an end. Iron Mask Marauder's case included. As for your other claim, hey, remember when Giratina almost died? Or when Zoroark almost died? Or when Latios did die? If that's all you have to say for Pokemon Forever being dark, then why aren't they praised for being dark as well?
I also like the characters in this film, including the Masked Marauder, since he is a part of Team Rocket, one of my favorite evil teams, and he's voiced by Dan Green. Plus, his goal mainly is to take over Team Rocket, which is more original than destroying the freaking planet, but I digress.
He's trying to take over a powerful organization. Maybe you're more familiar with this if it was taking over a city, a country, or even the world. Regardless, this type of action has been done before many times. Maybe you can argue that it's more original because it's an evil organization rather than a good organization. But the fact still remains. It's not as original as you think it is.
The other characters were okay. I like Sam, I like Ash, and I like Celebi. But they don't have as many interesting traits in this film. Another problem is the friggin' robot at the climax. Look, I know this was early CG, but that looks like Black 2's level of shit in CGI. Same has to be said for the music. I don't hate it, and there are a few good pieces. But there are a few I also don't like the opening and ending songs. Freaking dub.
You know, that reminds me. Why don't you ever talk about any of the tracks that you like or don't like? I mean, you praise certain soundtracks and you diminish the dub themes in many others, but the only time you actually mention any individual tracks are during the Rise of Darkrai segment. Also, you guys are okay with me skipping him covering nostalgia and animation, right? Okay, thanks. Does anyone else find it ironic that his top 3 Pokemon movies are generally considered to be Generation 3 movies? Hell, even with his own logic, Gen 3 contains his favorite non-Gen 4 movie.
I gotta admit, this film is not as amazing as I remember it to be originally. You know, like last entry. But it was still fun to see. This film has a good story, involving the main legendary Jirachi waking up after 1,000 years and wanting to have fun. Well, the villain of the film wants to use Jirachi's power to create a fake Groudon.
Now, if I remember correctly, he actually wanted to create a real Groudon. He just
like a real Groudon,
couldn't.
Not a tentacle raping one. Moving on.
I like the story because it's more of a magical themed movie instead of themes from previous films, which makes it unique. I also really like Jirachi and Max's friendship throughout the film, as it leads to some very funny scenes, which make me laugh. That's right, the negative MC has a spot in his heart for comedy scenes in Pokemon. Come at me. As for the other characters, I like Butler as he's not directly evil. He just wants to get revenge on Team Magma for his failure at reviving Groudon. But he realizes in the end that his method of going through it was wrong and that he and his girlfriend Diana stay behind to protect the Pokemon of this area. And look, actual development in a Pokemon movie. Where is this concept movie 13?
I only heard development. Plot development counts. Wording your words correctly, where is this concept, Wave?
In all seriousness though, I like the relationship between both Butler and Diana, as they both are a perfect match for one another, as well as being childhood friends. As for the other characters, I find them to be decent enough, though this film seems to focus on May and Max, rather than the whole gang. Since May is focused on having her wish granted via an ornament she got earlier in the film, while Max is busy having fun with Jirachi.
Took you long enough. A recurring problem with your list is that whenever you talked about Ash and Company, you never really described them other than bland or decent or good. You just left it at that. Here, you're finally explaining what characters have in terms of development in the movie. I've been waiting 12 fucking segments for this. Side note, May's focus is just a setup for a joke at the end of the film. The real focus of this movie is Max and Jirachi.
As for the animation and music, I like both, I really do, as the animation fits the environment of Forina, and I also like the animation done for the characters. And the music is awesome, because it is catchy and memorable. The film is not perfect, however, as the voice acting and even the story, while good, has a couple plot holes in it. Like, why go for Jirachi's power instead of just wishing for a Groudon?
I don't know. Why would you want to create
Ash
something that
and
could
Brock do
potentially
anything.
destroy you?
But the movie is still good enough to be on this list. Overall, while this film has its issues, I love the friendship between Max and Jirachi, the comedy is great, and the story is really good. While I wouldn't put it in the Hall of Fame, far from that, I would still pop this movie in and enjoy it, even though it's not as good as the last two entries. Here's a formula for you. Good setting, plus decent characters, plus a mother and son relationship, equals... Okay, let me re-edit that formula.
So you mentioned that the Zorro film has a good setting. Once again, why not bring up the fact that it was based off the Netherlands? And the characters went from bland with a decent character to bland and annoying to decent. Make up your fucking mind, Wave.
Decent/good characters, plus a mother-son relationship, plus a setting based around Roman Greek cities, and gorgeous animation, equals... Yes, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from the Pokemon fanbase considering how some say that it's irritating, has no plots, and other problems with the film. But I like this film because there are a lot of things I like about it that overshadow the problems for the most part. First off, like I said in the formula segment, the animation is gorgeous. This was the last movie to use hand-drawn cells. The sea is drawn really well, with the Pokemon inside as well as other backgrounds of the film. Though I mentioned the sea, since this film, well, it mainly revolves around the sea, and that's where the main plot takes place. I also like the animation for the characters in Pokemon as well. It looks really good for an anime movie. Speaking of characters, this is what makes the film shine. Not one character isn't involved with the plot, and each have a major part in the film.
Well, I can definitely say that May, Ash, Jack, and the girl were all pretty important characters in the overall plot. And one could argue the grandfather was too, so I'll count him. That leaves Max, Brock, and the girl's parents. Theoretically, you could take those characters out and the movie would remain the same. So bullshit.
Though some argue it's more of a May and Manaphy movie than anything, but then again, Manaphy is in the title. As for why May is considered the main focus, pretty censored.
I have an argument. Max had a movie where he was the focus, so why can't May? You're the one that put the Manaphy movie at number 2, and I'm the one that had to make up that argument. It's rather sad, really.
Though this film has some really unnecessary fan service. Again, not saying this film is perfect, but I might as well mention it. I love Ash's gang in this flick.
Even though half of them didn't contribute to the plot at all.
Though I really hate Jack, and I'm glad they made him a partial villain in the manga version.
So you don't bother with the manga version of Pokemon the first movie, yet you bother with the manga version of Pokemon Ranger in the Temple of the Sea. Nice.
Let's talk about Manaphy. Is it a guy, girl? Yiffit.
Yiffit?
Yiffit.
Okay then. By the way, Lady would like to say something.
Furry.
Thank you, Lady. It's always helpful.
Now where's my damn money?
Mail.
Manaphy is an interesting case, seeing how it can be funny during some scenes, and other scenes it's useful, like at the ending. And unlike Shaman, Manaphy didn't drag on my patience and make me want to throw it across the screen. No, we're not doing that joke.
By referencing the joke, technically aren't you?
Between May and Manaphy, I really liked it. It had both of them grow as characters, at least in this movie, and it was kind of interesting of a situation to watch. The other characters are just okay or decent. Like the villain Phantom is just a decent villain, considering he just wants the crystals to make money.
I'm sorry, but isn't someone who's doing it all for the money just as generic as someone who's trying to take over the world? If you went into any detail about, their characters, then, maybe I would forgive you. But you don't. You usually just go as far as their overall goal.
As for the music, I adore the music in this film. Every piece is awesome to listen to, and not one piece doesn't fit the scene it's in. Bias, maybe, but I love the music. And as for the voice acting, I find it to be just okay. I don't care that much for voice acting on film unless it's a severe problem. Since this was the first movie dubbed by the Pokemon Company, and no, I do not count the Mastermind special because that was originally dubbed by 4Kids, I find the actors turn in a decent performance. It doesn't cause a problem, but it's not that memorable. Final thoughts. This movie has its problems, yes, but these are problems I can overlook because I like everything else about this film. Animation is top-notch, the music is beautiful, the story is awesome, and the ending left me a little sad. My suggestion is ignore the critics on this one and judge for yourself, like a normal human being should.
Quick question, Wave. Can't that also apply to this, or this, or this, or even these?
I'm not here to change anyone's minds, but state my unbiased opinion on these films.
Even though you said this not even a minute ago.
Absolutely. I adore the music of this film. Every piece is awesome to listen to, and not one piece doesn't fit the scene. Bias, maybe, but I love music. Bias, maybe, but I love music. Bias, maybe, bias.
Holy shit, you can't even keep consistent for an entire minute!
If you've seen all these movies, then you know what my number one is.
I'm unbeatable.
Hey, do you remember how you were complaining about 4Kids dubbing some of the movies earlier? You know what completely destroys that argument? Playing a movie that they dubbed at number 1.
This awesome movie is my favorite on this list. Like, nah, really? But it's true for me. While it lacks some of the things the Manaphy movie did that made it good, this movie makes up for that in spades, and I could think even more than that. Is it overrated? Yes.
Overrated is usually applied to something that has garnered too much unwarranted attention. You put the fan favorite film at number 1. Please, for the love of God, tell me you've passed math class.
I love this animation. While it's not as gorgeous as the previous entry, I love the animation of this movie, a Snorlax.
Did I hear that right? Did he just say a Snorlax? That makes no sense. It doesn't relate to any... My digest brained.
I love the backgrounds of the film. I love the drawings of the characters, and the environments look amazing. Once again, commenting why I love hand-drawn animation. See what I did there? I also love the music of this film. It's so memorable to listen to, and it has a wide variety of musical instruments used, which I love. I really like the characters as well, as they all play a major part of the film. And I also like the chemistry with some of the characters like Ash and Lucario, and how they develop with this chemistry. For example, Lucario is an asshole at the beginning of the film, believing he can do anything, and having a hatred towards Sir Aaron because he sealed him away at the start of the film. But at the end, he realizes the truth, and that he was sealed so that he wouldn't follow Sir Aaron as he sacrificed himself to protect the Tree of Life. That's really touching, and that is a good example of character development IMO. I can't really think of a character that I hate in this film. They were done really well, including Mew. So cute.
Cute as a fetus.
This film does have its issues. As I've said before, no movie is perfect. A couple filler scenes as an example. Seriously, what reason was there for a hot spring scene?
So your top 2 Pokemon movies are the Pokemon movies where you acknowledge that they have fan service. Just saying.
Some of the parts after Lucario comes out drag on for too long, and honestly, I didn't care that much for Lucario until the end of the film, even after rewatching this film multiple times. But these flaws, while they're minor when compared to how much I enjoyed this movie, they are minor, and I couldn't care about them when compared to everything else about this film. Plus, another reason I like this is because I got into this movie because of ShinyCo suggesting it to me.
And here I thought your arguments couldn't get weaker. Seriously, because your girlfriend suggested it to you? You bringing it up makes me think that you probably would have had it lower, but then your girlfriend stepped in and was like, oh, I love the Lucario movie, and then bam, number 1. You know what? I'm done. The rest of this video is just the final thoughts. I'm done with this commentary. I felt that your jokes were not funny. I thought your editing was sloppy at times, and your points? Did you not watch the commentary? Final thoughts? These two are currently my favorite Pokemon movies.
Wow, this seems oddly familiar. It's almost like it's the exact template that Bop uses for its most recent intros. It's almost like they completely copied off Bop. It's almost like—
Blame Mike, I swear to God, it was all Mike. He made the fucking intro. Just blame Mike. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Does it really matter who made the intro? You still kept it in, so you're still to blame. So no you.
Now, here's a funny question.
Kanye West.
This won't be that much of a comedic commentary given the subject matter at hand. So yeah, this will be mostly serious.
First of all, do you really have to make it clear that a video about school shootings is going to be serious?
I don't know, did Richard and Zampano have to do the same thing when they were making a video about victim blaming?
By the way, this is just a quick of a disclaimer. This commentary is gonna be serious, and we're gonna try our best to put in some jokes, but most of the time this commentary is actually going to be a serious commentary.
Exactly.
Liking a video and subscribing to every idea the video makes are not the same thing. Case in point, Wave. Yes, my Wave brought a point against Ryan's commentary, it still gave the video a like. So yeah, when you find proof that Ryan agreed with Savano's point there, give me a call.
Either way, that really doesn't destroy the fact that being serious does not mean a sacrifice in comedy. As long as the jokes doesn't ruin the mood of the point and or is placed in an area where your point isn't really that serious, then you don't need to make the video less
Give me Kanye.
I only said mostly serious.
Which is something Ryan acknowledged in the very next cutaway.
What up? Jason Murray here.
Done. Over, click, off.
Ha! You wish. Happening in America.
With how you said that line, it sounds like you're trying to talk about how annoying your neighbor's dogs are or something.
Are you serious? You followed up a statement of you say that this commentary is going to be more serious and less jokey with not one, but two jokes. One being a pointless cameo and the other one being a generic one-liner. Sure, you said mostly serious, but it's rather poor placement.
Okay, the first statement, that was a joke. The second one, that wasn't a joke. In fact, it was there to point out just his tone of voice in the video.
How you deliver your line can affect how seriously it'll be taken. Having recently made this mistake, I should know this plenty. Doesn't help that, in combination with his delivery, the comparison itself could be seen as hyperbole. It may not have been intended as a joke, but Ryan's not at fault for taking it as one.
Also, you said there shouldn't be a sacrifice in comedy, yet you're whining, oh, they're making jokes. I mean, make up your mind, man.
We literally just came off Ryan saying that the jokes were ill-timed. It's not you making jokes, it's you paying attention.
Like, they really don't need to happen. All that's doing is, you know, making people feel bad and all that stuff, you know?
Wow. Just wow. Talk about a generic statement. And trust me, guys, it gets worse from here.
Okay, what part of that statement was quote-unquote generic? Why was it generic? Define generic. Why'd you stop the video just to point out that it's generic? Explain your points, man. It makes you come off less lazy.
Maybe it's not really specific and can be applied to anything.
Wow, that sounds like an actually decent point that you could have made in the original commentary. Now, quick question. Why didn't you make it in the original commentary? You know, when Ryan told you guys about poorly worded arguments, he at least explained why they were. Ironically, that's exactly what Illini guy skipped.
Okay, you do get a point because there is no school involved, though the fact he's a university student could help a bit, but that's a different story since, again, this goes back to your poor wording. You asked how it supported his argument in any way. Well, here's your answer. Was there a gun? Was there people killed with said gun? Yeah, sure, 2 out of 3 of the requirements, but it supports him in some way.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, he's not. But seriously, the bloody bank robbery comparison you make is dumb because people are still killed by guns. Doesn't disprove Ryan's or Jason's point.
And then we had the Sandy Hook shooting back in 2012 also. I'll say that's probably one of the most deadliest shootings that's ever happened. So, and then this year we had the Elliot Rodgers shooting back in May of 2014.
Also, you gotta love the fact that he only named shootings that got national attention.
He was giving examples. EXAMPLES. Look it up! It's almost common knowledge that when presenting a point, you bring up the most popular example so people instantly follow along with your point, and you can explain said point quick and simple. If he listed all the school shootings that didn't get much attention, we'd be here all day.
That wasn't even the point we were trying to get at. The point was we had a problem that he was only naming ones that got national attention. I mean, did we expect him to name every school shooting? No. Did we want more than just popular ones? Yeah. Not to mention it probably could have strengthened his argument.
I don't see how using only popular examples is a bad thing, given that they're still good examples. And hey, at least he's giving examples, which none of you three did in the original commentary.
I have Asperger's syndrome, but do I think about murdering people? No.
I told this to Dinosaur Jr. Freak 01, and I'm gonna tell you too.
Stop being tapioca pudding.
Also, way to generalize other people with Asperger's, you jerk.
Wait, how is he generalizing people with Asperger's when his main point was that not all people with Asperger's want to kill people, using himself as an example? I cannot compute with your logic.
Okay, see, Rhino, this is why you watch the original video. His point wasn't that not all people with Asperger's want to kill people. I mean, he even said in the video, some people say school shootings are because of Asperger's. And quite frankly, that statement sounded like, hey, I don't do it, but hey, other people with Asperger's do it. See, this is exactly why you watch the original video.
Two things. One, if he claims to have Asperger's and doesn't want to cause school shootings, that would imply that he's going against the argument that some people claim that school shootings are linked to Asperger's. And two, why should we go back to the original video? If you leave out what could be a key detail in going against your argument, that should be on your head, not the head of the person who's commentating on you.
Oh, and also, yeah, ignore my point where I said it's you, not everyone is like you, because no you.
Yo, you're not allowed to say that. That's my job, bitch.
I played a few violent video games.
Whoa! Hold it right there, Glenn Beck! Video games do not cause violence, nor is there a study that proves so.
Okay, Jacob, you've proven you're awful with words and understanding, so let me walk you through this. Nowhere in his sentence did he say games caused violence. In fact, his point was saying the exact opposite.
You know what? I probably should have left the whole thing in the video.
In that case, why did you tell us to look up the original video when he was bringing up his Asperger's? Shouldn't matter if it's from an outsider's perspective. Saying suck it up in this regard still makes you look like an arrogant cunt.
I can't understand you because your audio editing is crap.
I can hear him perfectly.
Your audio editing still blows. Please fix it.
The most offensive video I have ever seen in my entire life.
Jesus, all he did was just repeat that school shooting is bad. How is that offensive?
This is coming from the same guy that got extremely pissed when Flippy did that video about victim blaming. And also, let's apply your logic. Flippy was just making a generic commentary on someone who did a video on victim blaming. And you got incredibly mad. You see, it's not that he just made a video about school shootings, it's how he carried out.
Well, how did he carry it out that made it so offensive? I mean, sure, Jason wasn't the most professional person to talk about the topic, but it's not like he was saying the school shootings were good or anything. And it's not like Flippy, where he was telling his audience that the people who committed illegal activities against their victims were okay because the victims edged them on when they really weren't. Also, that commentary of Ryan's is a few months old now. Maybe Ryan learned a thing or two since then. Ever thought about that?
And quite frankly, I think Jake explained it best.
Saying that people are, quote, feeling bad when school shootings happen is just sickening.
How?
Maybe you would get your answer if you stopped cutting him off.
Well, are you gonna give us the rest of that answer?
I'm not gonna show the rest of this because...
No way, that would be way too much fucking work for you. You see that Jake explains a point perfectly, yet you don't show the rest of Jake's explanation. Whether or not Ryan is right or wrong about it is unrelated. You say it's perfect, yet you don't show the rest of it. Good job.
This was bad. Was it the worst thing? No, I can think of a lot of commentaries that have been a lot worse than this one. But, I mean, aside from that, I mean, you basically ignore a lot of our points.
How so? By skipping or by not acknowledging a point when he covered it in the video? If the latter, examples, please. If the former, you skipped several times during this video. Fucking hypocrite.
And also, you defend Jason Murray Jr. You defended someone who has called everyone that's given him criticism bullies, whether it be in the comments or commentaries. I mean, everything else, I mean, that wasn't bad, but that's just the worst part.
So apparently, the worst part about Ryan's commentary is not that he may have made some wrong points or anything, but the fact that he defended a guy Illini guy didn't like. Oh, never mind the fact that maybe some of the comments thrown at Jason were complete bullshit. No. The worst part about Ryan's commentary is that he defended Jason Murray Jr. And if you do the same thing, well, that'll be the worst part of your commentary. Defending Jason Murray Jr. Hey, I have this brilliant idea. Let's blame Jason for the Sandy Hook shootings. What's that? He didn't have any connection to those shootings? Well, we're not going to defend him because that'll be the worst part about our videos. The fact that we defend Jason Murray Jr. If this is how you acted towards Jason, then no wonder he's treating every one of his detractors like cyberbullies. Because that's what you are. A bunch of bullies.
So the main reason we're doing this commentary is because we feel this viewer has a misguided view on the term overrated. Now, as most of my viewers know, I have delved into this subject on multiple occasions. One which I am still fairly proud of, though I do regret a number of my decisions. However, I do have a clearer understanding of the term, as well as how to make sophisticated arguments, which I would like to share during this commentary.
Which leads us to our first real issue with the video.
And you have to admit, there are a few whose popularity just doesn't add up compared to what they're actually capable of in game, or just compared to other Pokemon. So today we'll be counting down the top 10 most overrated Pokemon in history. Before we begin though, what qualifies as overrated? Well, in this case, it's just Pokemon undeserving of their popular or even wildly unpopular status given the reasons people like or dislike them. For example, a Pokemon that's perceived to be strong based on how it looks, and people like it for that reason, but in reality it underperforms in battle.
You see, whenever you're trying to form any sort of argument, whether it be for teaching, discussion, or even debate, it is vital to define a term and tell what type of definition it is. There are about 10 ways to define a term, such as definition by experience, history, authority, or one of the most common, by textbook. Overrate. To rate or praise too highly. Now, this is not to be confused with popularity, which quickly leads to another problem within this video.
Or in the case of number 10, a Pokemon that is vilified for a particular reason, when there are plenty of other Pokemon more deserving of this criticism. You probably guessed it based on that description. Kicking off the list at number 10 is the most hated Pokemon in recent history, Trubbish. Why people dislike Trubbish is on the surface very easy to understand.
And this is the reason why defining the term properly first is so important, because we can easily bring up a counterclaim to this statement since we have another term, overhate, to hate too much. Because of this, I can easily make the argument that this particular entry should not belong on the list.
Trubbish is far from the least human looking or even grossest Pokemon design there is though. The Generation 1 Pokemon, Grimer and Muk, are literally based off of sludge, or decomposing feces, which is absolutely the grossest possible concept for a Pokemon to ever exist.
If the purpose of putting Trubbish on the list was to tell us that Pokemon like Muk should be criticized for the same shit that Trubbish is called on, then why not just put Pokemon like Muk on the list in the first place? You'd still be able to get your point across, and you wouldn't have to deal with people calling you out for putting such a generally disliked Pokemon on your list of overliked Pokemon. So, number 9?
No, 13. Of course number 9.
Number 9, Gardevoir. Gardevoir has been a popular Pokemon for many reasons, but somehow it ended up as the postermon for the Pokephilia community. For the uninitiated, there exists a small subgroup of Pokemon fans who don't just want to train and battle Pokemon, they want to date them too. Say what you want about these people, but it won't change the fact that they're out there. Almost any humanoid or even non-humanoid Pokemon can qualify as what they call a waifu. None seems more popular than the Generation 3 Pokemon Gardevoir. Mostly, depictions of Gardevoir in this community tend to portray it as a very feminine Pokemon, giving it breasts and feminine facial features. However, let's take a look at Gardevoir as an actual Pokemon, shall we? Not only can Gardevoir be either male or female, but in Japanese its name is the decidedly masculine Sir Knight. Its design isn't meant to resemble a feminine form wearing a dress, but instead a masculine magical knight. Its chest is completely flat, with no protrusions other than the red triangle that pierces its body. So sorry Gardevoir lovers everywhere, but your waifu is kind of a dude.
While you see Gardevoir as a more masculine Pokemon based on its concept, others see it as a more feminine Pokemon based on its design. It also doesn't help your argument when the World's line has a male-only evolution in Gallade, whereas Gardevoir has just as much of a chance of being either gender. Also, its name could very well be a reference to how Gardevoir will actually risk its own life to save its trainer's life. In fact, if you were to look up its Japanese name even further, it translates to "Come, my knight," reflecting what I just said.
Also, despite everything MasterTP10 said, this is another entry I don't feel belongs on this list. What does porn have to do with actual praise? Practically nothing except giving people more fapping material. I also have to say something. Online Rule 34. If you can think about it, there's most likely porn for it. But when it comes to certain communities, it seems like an allergic reaction. Look, you have every right to dislike it. However, I do find it more annoying that porn is the focal point, making such statements more annoying than the porn itself. There are far things worse than such imagery that might even be considered illegal, but generally, they get a free pass and never talked about negatively, but treat bedroom activities, which is none of your business by the way, as if it's a crime. Now, excuse me while I go back to Mindshao. Oh, Mindshao, oh, you're so sexy, but why do you have to be so overrated?
Okay, then can we move on?
Number 8. Whitney's Miltank. There were always some gym leaders that we had trouble with as kids, Chop and Goldenrod department store, to give you a type advantage.
Hold up, I see a problem here. You're mentioning that Miltank isn't that tough with Machop, yet you showed evidence that worked against it. Look, if you're finding contradiction while searching for evidence, don't be afraid to change your claims. This is something that early debaters need to learn and understand that your first assumptions, most of the time, are going to be incorrect. If that's the case, feel free to seek out more evidence to back up your claim.
Additionally, Totodile learns Rage very early on in the game, which can be an effective way to take out Miltank if you let it build its Rage first while battling her Clefairy. Actually, her Clefairy was much more of a threat. With Metronome in its arsenal, it could end up using Spore, Confuse Ray, Thunder Wave, Swords Dance, Double Team, Leech Seed, Sacred Fire, or even Self-Destruct and Explosion. Now that is a pink Pokemon you don't want to mess with.
You're right. Via Metronome, it can learn Sacred Fire and Explosion. You know what else it can learn through Metronome? Splash.
And just to add to MasterTP10's point, if you're claiming Croconaw can build up Rage from Clefairy which uses Metronome, that's all luck instead of actual strategy. You have more of a chance to smokescreen to dodge rollouts than that method. Once again, even if it's not intended, it feels like you're only giving example out of one instance, which while making a case off of examples, you can't do that or the argument appears weak.
We're skipping number 7 because our segment on Magikarp literally talks about the very thing Magikarp exists for. For someone who tried to bring up Gardevoir's concept to defend its placement on the list, your lack of bringing up anything but Magikarp's concept really hurts your point.
We're also skipping number 6 because Missing Number doesn't even qualify as a Pokemon, and therefore also doesn't belong on the list.
Number 5. Mew. Mew has long had the reputation of being the rarest Pokemon in existence. It's been given the Phantom and Mirage Pokemon monikers, and it has inspired millions of rumors about how to go about obtaining this creature. It's amazing that this Pokemon was the one to jog so many kids' imaginations, and cause them to come up with so many strange theories about how to catch it. And yet it's actually the easiest to obtain Legendary in any Pokemon game, thanks to a very well-known glitch. In Red and Blue, there were not 1, not 2, but 3 trainers in Kanto that can cause Mew to appear when performing the aptly named Mew glitch.
And on top of that, Pokemon duplication glitches were simple too. It was not uncommon to find kids with entire PC boxes full of Mews.
The problem I have with this is that it's not an official way to catch Mew. The point of the rumor was thinking that Game Freak has a secret way of obtaining, and this method was discovered by accident. Basically, cheating.
Not only that, but Game Freak has distributed over 20 different Mews in various countries, from 2005 to 2010, making it one of the most highly distributed legendary Pokemon ever. If you own Red, Blue, or Yellow and you've never had a Mew, odds are you're just not looking very hard for one.
But the point was that it was tough to catch, and people used to think like this. Part of developing argument is keeping up to date with your sources. If it's dated, the claim just goes invalid.
And when was Mew rare again? Oh yeah, back when Gen 2 was the most recent generation. Speaking of Gen 2, we're skipping her segment on Pichu. Why?
Because no one ever praises it!
Most evolutions. Something about Eevee and its many evolutions has made it one of the most popular Pokemon of all time.
When you think of Pokemon, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Pikachu. Types.
Exactly. The point is that Eevee is a recognizable Pokemon to even people outside the fandom. In college, I had a colleague who got out of Pokemon in the 2nd gen, who said her favorite was Eevee because she liked the idea of forms. And as far as I'm aware, that's where the acknowledgement comes from. This is known as being a market success due to various reasons which aren't unwarranted. And once again, has to do with popularity, not praise. Eevee, in short, is just a very recognizable Pokemon with a concept only it has, which allows everyone to have a favorite. Which is why the fanbase seems large, and I don't feel unjustified.
But I personally have never really understood why it continues to be so popular. Sure, it's cute, but at this point there are many cuter Pokemon
completely subjective.
Oshawott or Joltik or Victini.
Well, if you're to ask me, there's only one Pokemon in that group that's cuter. Victini!
Flareon, aside from its obvious weakness to the ever-present Stealth Rock, was given 130 base attack and nothing to do with it. It learns exactly 2 physical Fire-type moves, Fire Fang and Flame Charge, neither of which have high enough base power to be useful in late game or competitive. Not with other better physical fire attackers with better movesets to compete with anyway.
1. Who said it needs to be used in late game to be helpful? I ran 1 through the entirety of Black 2. It was useful. 2. You're forgetting Baton Pass. In sync of the speed boost of a Flame Charge, or Curse making it a decent supporter and different from the Pokemon listed. 3. You're not highlighting its other stats, which Will-O-Wisp can accommodate for a poor defense and enough special defense to make a Pokemon a supportive, crippling side for NU teams.
And number 4, who praises Flareon because of its battling capabilities? People like Flareon because it's cute and it uses fire-type attacks, and until the end of time, at least the latter will never change.
It's also quite slow, and without the bulk to defend itself with, that lack of speed often means it won't even get a chance to attack before it gets one hit KO.
Alright, I want you to take a close look at this. See how the HP bar didn't go down that much. Take note that the Pokemon shown is not burned and is using a physical move. You see how the evidence is contradicting what you're saying? Once again, if the evidence goes against your first accusations, then don't be afraid to change it.
Similarly, Leafeon's biggest problem is that there's just so many better grass types to choose from, both offensively and defensively. It also lacks the variety of status-afflicting moves that most grass types come equipped with, having only Grass Whistle and Toxic to choose from.
Alright, I got a lot to say here. The comparison of Sawsbuck doesn't work, since Sawsbuck is not known for taking a hit and is weak against fighting, a very common typing in metagame. Sawsbuck works a lot better as a sweeper, as Leafeon is supposed to be a kind of mix-up between both support and defensive properties, so the comparison does not work. Speaking of which, Grass-type support is not limited to powders. Leafeon has access to both Sword Dance and Baton Pass, with enough defense to make it helpful, as well as Instant Recover with Synthesis and Chlorophyll, a great combination. So basically, all these comparisons are completely irrelevant.
It's still an NU.
Shut up, it's underrated. Now get in the box.
Better than the Iron Man, I suppose. No matter, we're skipping to number 2 anyway. Don't worry, you're not missing much, it's just her missing the point of multiple evolutions.
Number 2, most starters. At the beginning of every game, you're given a Pokemon, and that Pokemon is usually with you the longest out of any of the other Pokemon you catch for your journey. so it's only natural people get more attached to starter Pokemon than others. Unfortunately, this attachment comes with the added side effect of undeserved praise. It's not uncommon for starter Pokemon to end up being the most powerful Pokemon in most people's parties. They have a very fast experience growth rate, and as a result, end up easily overleveled when compared to most party members and enemy trainers' Pokemon. But let's be honest here, just because your Typhlosion can easily flatten Picnic or Best level 10 Hoppip, that doesn't mean it's actually a particularly strong Pokemon.
Yes, they are. Okay, they're not supposed to be Dragonite powerful, but whoever says they are? They're just supposed to be Pokemon that you get at the beginning of the game to keep momentum during the playthrough. The only ones ever praised for being more powerful than the other starters are Blaziken, Infernape, and Venusaur, mostly because of the competitive metagame. And, spoiler alert, she praises them for being more powerful than the other starters, giving even less of a reason for any of these starters here to be on this list.
On the contrary, the vast majority of all starter Pokemon out there are outclassed when it comes to battling. Much like the evolutions, the bigger problem with most of these starters in battle is just that there's always a Pokemon that can fill their role better than they can. They all tend to have mediocre stats and move pools that make it hard for them to even compete.
Let's go through these one by one, shall we?
Blastoise is a spinner, Cloyster is more of a practical sweeper. Meganium is a supporting tank-like Pokemon, while Vileplume is more of a crippling Pokemon. Sceptile is more of a sweeper, and Roserade is more of a supporter.
Feraligator's moveset is more physically based as opposed to Kabutops' support-based move pool. Typhlosion's a special sweeper, while Entei's a physical one. Oh, and by the way, Entei's a legendary, and legendaries are expected to be better than regular Pokemon. Same goes with Suicune and Empoleon, who, FYI, has a steel typing that Suicune can't beat. Gastrodon's only advantage over Swampert is Storm Drain. Give both of them the same abilities and see how Swampert would come out on top. Samurott is a standard sweeper while Slowking is a supporting tank.
Torterra is a tank that hits back, while Ferrothorn is simply a wall. Superior is a knack of all trades, while Abomasnow is basically for hail. These are completely irrelevant comparisons, and the only reason I think you're doing this is because you looked at Smogon, looked at the type, then decided that they were inferior. Which I have against because having experience with Smogon, I know the basics. Tiers are only measured by usefulness and meta, nothing else. I feel Pokemon should not be compared like this unless they are very similar Pokemon you can obtain almost as easily as a starter.
And the #1 most overrated Pokemon is...
Is it Emboar?
Is it unknown?
Is it Charizard?
Is it Reggie?
Charizard.
Reggie was a close second.
Yes, Charizard gets its own category outside the other starter Pokemon.
And I think we should stop here, because there's nothing really wrong with her Charizard segment, other than the fact that she uses anime footage for her points, yet never actually brings up the anime as an argument.
The only problem I see is that she brought up an interesting point as far as the card goes. But why couldn't she do that with everything else? The fact that Meganium gets more criticism than anything else, bringing up what people already know Magikarp for, and probably the most important thing, looking up what overrated means.
Now to be fair to her, her video wasn't horrible. It's not like her points were presented in an overly pretentious fashion. It's not like she didn't do any research. It's not like she didn't try. I can safely say that I've seen, and hell, I've even commented on, worse lists about overrated Pokemon. With that said, it's all the backwards logic in this that gets to me. Whether it's trying to go against norms that really are against the point of the video, or completely agreeing with those norms. It's also safe to assume that this really could have used a little more work.
Overall, even though this video was guarded by good editing with, for the most part, appropriate visuals, I felt this was just plain rushed, jumped on too many popular viewpoints, made conclusions based off of first assumptions, and judging Pokemon by Smogon. Final thoughts, Meganium is now more overcriticized than Arceus. Speaking of Arceus, for the love of Arceus, quit kissing this woman's ass already.
On the one hand, I'm doing a commentary on a rant on a death battle with an anime character involved, and the ranter never claims during the video that Screw Attack has a bias against anime as a whole. On the other hand, I'm doing a commentary on the rant. What do you think?
Really?
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 The rematch.
Oh,
and
wait.
I'm gonna tell you right now, It was fucking horseshit. It was fucking horseshit yet again. I don't give a fuck. You knew it was coming. If you didn't realize that I was gonna fucking come at this shit right now, then I don't know what channel you've been watching. This motherfucker right here.
The Flash?
Really?
Really?
See this?
Thank God I got that on my system.
Get the fuck out of here right now. This is the motherfucker, alright? So let's talk about this fight. Superman blowing Goku's brains out, in essence. Fucking lobotomizing the motherfucker. Walking through a Kamehameha like it's nothing. Like fucking dancing like fucking, I
don't recall Superman dancing his way through a Kamehameha. Though I'd pay money to see that happen. Ryan's money to be exact.
What the fuck were they thinking? The only thing I will say is that the graphics of what they created look fucking awesome. I will say that looked way better than the first time around, but this fight was horseshit. It was fucking flat out horseshit.
You spotted that the fight was horseshit 4 times now without ever going to why it's horseshit. It won't surprise me if shit lost all meaning by the end of the video.
Yet again, and they're using the same reasoning. Oh, Superman has no limits. Just because Superman and his abilities is bullshit, and he's a poorly written character that he just has plot convenience at every given turn, that does not mean that he's going to be Goku, and that does not give any validity to the fight.
I'd hesitate to call Superman a poorly written character, seeing as he's been around and popular for over 3/4 of a century. I doubt he'd be as popular as he got if he wasn't ever written well. But even if Superman was never written well, the quality of one's writing does not dictate who will be the stronger character. That's ignoring how there are people who think that Superman is better written for his character trying to be a god living amongst men.
I mean, just, yet again, it was just bullshit. And then they try to give King Kai, I told you, Goku, you can't defeat him. Like, shut up.
Yes, shut up, obvious Dragon Ball fan. Your opinion that Superman would win in spite of properly liking Goku more as a character is not welcome here.
And then one of the things is like, oh, last time they gave him the power pole or whatever, right? And in retrospect, I will say that, okay, they were trying to give him a little bit of an advantage because it's a magical tool or whatnot. They didn't have that this time. Just everything about it was just like, Superman walks through Kamehamehas like it's nothing now. Now it doesn't affect him or anything like that. When just throughout the entire fight, him punching him and shit like that, he was getting his ass kicked, but a Kamehameha means nothing. He fucking melts his brain down and then has respect to hold him and stuff like that, even though, like, it was just so much bullshit. This fight was fucking bullshit. Like, I don't give a fuck. You want to say, you're a Dragon Ball Z tard, just face the facts. No, at the end of the day, every which way Goku is better than Superman. Flat the fuck out.
Thank you. You've just proven all those that called you a DBZ tard correct. You immediately dismiss anything that anyone opposing you says and, without any logical explanation or evidence, claim that Goku is better in every way than Superman. You told someone who was clearly more supportive of Goku to shut up because he understood why Goku lost. You were ignoring Goku's limits, which is part of the character you so adore, just to say that Goku could beat Superman. If that's not being a DBZ tard, then please tell me how you define being a DBZ tard, because I think your definition is just like you. Full of shit.
You want to talk about, fuck the strength shit, because granted, yes, it's death battle, yes, it's a fight thing and whatnot, but what's more important at the end of the day, in my opinion, is a better written character and a better written story. And majority of the time, from the stories that I've read of Superman, they're just the same old shit. But at the end of the day, Dragon Ball fucking Z is about a main character that is struggling to be the best that he can be and always trying to outdo his past limits or whatever. And that's something you can't take away from Dragon Ball Z. I don't give a fuck.
So you acknowledge the point of Dragon Ball Z being about surpassing limits set before you, yet you're still willing to say that Goku could beat someone without a limit. I don't think you listen to yourself talk. I really don't. Furthermore, you say that Superman is all the same old shit, but then you go on to say that Dragon Ball is all about overcoming limits. Can't always trying to overcome limits be seen as the same old shit? In fact, you could argue there's a formula in the Dragon Ball series. Bad guy shows up, shows he's a meaniehead. Goku can't beat him. Supporting character gets a power-up. Supporting character loses. Goku gets a power-up. Goku fights bad guy. Goku wins. While we're at it, what stories of Superman did you read? Maybe that's why Superman may be the same old shit to you. But I highly doubt that you're well-versed in Superman to really make a judgment call like that.
But this fight was just like absolute horse shit. Like, I just watched it on the live stream that, you know, Death Battle had. I think they're at a con or some shit like that. And their reasoning that they use is the same reasoning they used last time. So in essence, if you were going to go by that logic of Superman has no limits, there's nothing you can do to stop him, then why the fuck did you do this to begin with?
Goku vs. Superman was a debate that was around before Death Battle came to be. Why can't they throw their 2 cents in? The second time may not be as good of a reason as before, but both have gotten new powers since, and people didn't get the message from before. Of course, judging from your reactions, you still didn't get the message.
What's the point? You're using the same exact logic or whatever. Like, so you couldn't even pinpoint how strong Goku is as a Super Saiyan God, but you decided to use it anyway. So what exact method did you use? I mean, the research that they used in this one was very piss poor compared to most of their other ones. It was just like, wow, Superman has this new technique that he can, you know, become a bomb and this and that, but like, Goku, you don't really even, like, have a specific margin of how strong he is as a Super Saiyan God.
True, they gave no specified strength to Goku, but that's not entirely their fault. Dragon Ball is pretty vague on how strong Goku is as Super Saiyan God. However, seeing as it still has a limit, one can assume that a character without limits would win in a fight.
All the reasonings I've used in the past, I mean, at the end of the day, Superman grabbing him in that chokehold, Goku could have gotten out of it. He's done it time and time again.
If he's gotten out of it time and time again, why not show one of these times or explain one of these times? Maybe there's more to what Superman did that constituted to Goku not getting out. Maybe not, I don't know. But without any evidence, why should anyone, especially those not well versed in Dragon Ball, give a shit?
There's just so many different things, but like honestly, the biggest bullshit in my opinion, one of the biggest bullshits was Superman walks through a Kamehameha, like, hey, it's just a Kamehameha, like, get the fuck out of here.
Now's as good of a time as any to tell you why Superman withstanding Goku's Kamehameha isn't complete bullshit. In Dragon Ball Z, if you're more powerful than your opponent, you can withstand practically any ki-based attack your opponent throws at you. A prime example of this is when Goku initially fought Frieza. He took a rather direct Kamehameha, powered up with a Kaioken times 20 by the way, and Frieza was barely scratched up at best. Goku even pointed out that Frieza was not using his full strength when he was hit. So imagine how much less Frieza would have taken if he was using 100% of his strength. Oh, and there was this happened, that happened, this too, and lastly this. Sure, most of these weren't done by Goku as a Super Saiyan, let alone a Super Saiyan God, but the point remains. Since Death Battle thought Superman to be stronger, and provided actual evidence to support their claims, Goku's ki attacks couldn't do much against a stronger foe. Besides, if Broly can practically walk through a Kamehameha, why can't the Man of Steel?
That was bullshit. I don't give a fuck. Fuck Superman is what I'm feeling right now. Granted, I've had some good time with the character, but this motherfucker right here, Son Goku, way better than that motherfucker. Superman can eat a dick right now is all I care.
I don't give a fuck about this, but fuck Superman. He doesn't want to be my husbando. Dude, if you don't give a shit, then why did you make and post a 5.5-minute video on the matter?
Like, I don't give a fuck. Let me know what you think if you've seen it. I don't care. This is rantings from a fanboy, whatever you want to call it, but it is what it is. That was bullshit yet again. Screw Attack cheated our boy Son Goku out of a victory. And I don't care. Call it bias, call whatever the fuck you want. I know that was bullshit yet again. At the end of the day, there's so many different things that Goku could do to Superman. Even in the little article thing that they mentioned of a fight that, I think it was some magazine, I forget which one that they did of Goku versus Superman, they basically said Goku would win. But time and time again, Screw Attack just wants to troll. They just want to piss off the Dragon Ball Z fans.
Okay, let's assume they didn't make the match to reflect more on current information between the two, or whatever other reason you can think of, but because they were trolling. And that you calling them trolls is not because you dislike the outcome of the match, but because they want to intentionally piss off Dragon Ball Z fans. Why are you giving the trolls your attention? That's exactly what trolls want.
When Goku could be across the universe at the fucking snap of a finger, putting his fucking two... Come on.
The guys at Death Battle outright stated that Superman was so overpowered that he was on a totally different level than Goku. You seriously think that instant teleportation would help? The only way that could happen is if Goku knew where Kryptonite was, could concentrate long enough to teleport there, teleport back to where Superman was, and abuse it. But even then, that would be completely out of Goku's character, which is why he didn't use it in the previous Death Battle, and would generally be seen as an outside force that, unlike the sun, isn't a constant. Something Death Battle usually tries to avoid, unless it's Akuma TH doing the research, but that's besides the point.
Let's cut the bullshit here, people. Let me know overall thoughts of the death battle. I mean, I'll give them credit. It looked fucking awesome. The visuals looked awesome, but it's just like, for example, a video game. Just because it has awesome graphics doesn't make it a good story, because it was a shit story and a shit scenario that they put together where Superman just lobotomizes Goku and this, that, and the third. Like, fuck that shit.
I wonder, how many times did it say shit during the video?
It was fucking horseshit. Fucking horseshit. This fight was horseshit. Flat out horseshit. This bullshit. Again, it was just bullshit. Him punching him and shit like bullshit. Fucking bullshit. The same old shit. Absolute horseshit. Some shit like that. The biggest bullshit. One of the biggest bullshits. That was bullshit. Bullshit yet again. Bullshit. Let's cut the bullshit. A shit story and a shit scenario that fuck that shit.
21 times, yet we seldom got a reason as to why for any one of them. How many objective facts did he spout?
Superman's written poorly.
That is subjective as fuck, and you know it. The only thing you even remotely brought up was Goku's instant teleportation, but that only surpasses Superman's speed, not his strength or his durability. You're allowed to like Goku more. You're allowed to say that the death battle got an actual fact wrong, and you're allowed to not like the fight or death battle entirely. But just saying that Goku would win because you like him more is ignorant and overall fucking dumb. You want Goku to win? Prove it!